The funny thing is, I almost didn't say it. The music was too loud, the champagne too sweet, and everyone was already halfway through pretending this had been a great year. I was standing near the bar, holding a glass I wasn't drinking, when Mark leaned in beside me. "You still playing with that useless side app," he said, grinning like we were sharing a harmless joke. I didn't answer right away. I just looked at him. "I've learned that silence makes people nervous." "Oh," I said finally. "I sold that app." He barked out a laugh. Not cruel, just certain. That useless thing had value for how much I glanced past him and saw our CEO a few feet away, finishing a toast about innovation and bold leadership. He had that relaxed smile he wears when he thinks the room belongs to him. $50 million, I said. The laugh stopped. Mark blinked, waiting for the punchline. I didn't give him one. The music kept playing. Someone behind us coughed. A glass clinked too hard against the counter. It wasn't dramatic. It was quieter than that. Like the air had shifted and no one knew how to stand in it. Our CEO turned toward us slowly. His smile didn't disappear. It just tightened. "You're serious?" he asked. Yes, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't smile. I didn't explain the structure of the deal or the equity I kept. I let the number sit there between us. For a second, I felt almost attached, like I was watching another woman say it. The dependable one. The operations anchor. The woman who kept things running. Not the one who built something worth $50 million. My name is Meredith Kincaid, 46 years old. I have worked in compliance systems for more than 2 decades. I have cleaned up messes no one wanted to admit existed. I've been called reliable more times than I can count. What I have never been called is visionary. As I stood there watching the realization spread across their faces, I understood something with painful clarity. This moment didn't begin tonight. It began years ago, in a conference room that smelled like burnt coffee, when I offered an idea and was told, gently, to stay in my lane. 8 years earlier, I was still trying to earn something I couldn't name. The conference room was full. Quarterly strategy, slides about expansion, risk exposure, scaling into new jurisdictions. I'd stayed up the night before tightening my numbers. When there was a pause, I spoke. "I've been mapping licensing risk across state lines." I said, "There's a pattern. If we automate detection before contracts hit production, we could prevent compliance penalties before they exist." The CEO looked at me over his glasses, not irritated, calm. "That's interesting. Meredith," he said, "but let's keep you focused on operational stability." A few heads nodded. Someone clicked to the next slide. I tried again. "It wouldn't take much. A lightweight internal tool. I can prototype it." He smiled. The tight one. "We need you keeping the engine running. Strategy requires a different lens." Different lens. That's what he called it. Across the table. Daniel Ruiz, 32, sharp suit, easy laugh, leaned back in his chair. "We should definitely think bigger in fintech," he added. "Predictive compliance analytics, market-facing, that's the direction." The CEO said, "Daniel, why don't you explore that with me?" Just like that. The meeting moved on. No one looked at me. 2 months later, Daniel was promoted to Director of Strategic Innovation. He presented a framework that sounded familiar, simplified, flashier, mine, but louder. Afterward, he stopped by my desk. "No hard feelings," he said lightly. "You're great at the back-end stuff. That's your strength." "I know," I said. I even smiled. That night, I sat in my car in the garage longer than I needed to. Engine off, phone dark. I replayed the meeting in my head, trying to find where I'd overstepped. Maybe he was right. Maybe I don't have the lens. Maybe I'm built for maintenance, not momentum. Tell me something what hurts more, being told you're wrong, or realizing you were never really in the running. I started building it the week after Daniel's promotion email went out, not to prove them wrong. That's what I told myself. It was just a thought experiment. A cleaner way to map licensing risk before contracts hit production? At home. My laptop glowed on the kitchen table. The radiator clicked in the corner like it had something to say. The first version ran for 9 minutes before crashing. "Of course," I muttered. I rewrote the parsing logic. Ran it again. Crash. By midnight, I was arguing with my own code. "Don't be dramatic," I said out loud, as if it could hear me. "You're just conditional logic." On the third night, The database corrupted itself and wiped half the test records. I stared at the screen, hands hovering over the keyboard. This is stupid. I said, "You're 46 years old. Go to bed." I almost dragged the entire project folder into the trash. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. "Claire, you still at work?" she wrote. "No," I replied. "Just building something dumb." She called immediately. "Meredith, if it's dumb, why are you losing sleep over it?" "Because it works in my head," I said. "And I need to know if it works anywhere else." There was a pause. Then she said, "Softer. You built your whole career before that company ever noticed you. Don't let them define your ceiling." After we hung up, I restored the backup files. I rebuilt the corrupted table from scratch. I tightened the logic tree. I ran the simulation again. This time, it flagged 3 licensing conflicts in under 2 seconds. I leaned back in my chair and laughed. Not triumphant. Relieved. No one clapped. No one promoted me. No one even knew. The email came in at 11:17 on a Tuesday. Subject line, re-outside projects and IP clarification. I almost archived it without reading. Legal threads usually meant policy updates no one cared about. Then I saw my name in the second paragraph. Kincaid's after-hours software initiative. My stomach tightened. I clicked. The thread had started with a question from someone in leadership. Probably Daniel. Maybe even the CEO. Does the company have claim over employee side projects related to compliance automation? Melissa from legal responded. As reviewed. No IP conflict. Management uninterested. Treat as external hobby. I read it once. Then I scrolled back up and read it again. Slower. Management uninterested. Not rejected. Not evaluated and declined after consideration. Uninterested. I stood up and walked down the hall before I could overthink it. Melissa looked up when I knocked lightly on her open door. "Everything all right?" she asked. I was included in a thread about my software, so I said, "Was that intentional?" She clicked through her inbox. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "Oh, that wasn't meant to include you, I figured," I said. "But the answer stands, yes," she replied. "Leadership reviewed it. There's no claim as long as you're not using company equipment or proprietary data sets." "I'm not. Then it's yours," she said simply. "We don't see strategic overlap." "We don't see strategic overlap." I nodded. "Thank you." As I turned to leave, she added, "Just make sure it stays separate." "It does," I said. In the hallway, Daniel was leaning against the counter near the coffee machine. "Heard legal was asking about your little project." He said casually, "Everything clean." "Everything's clean," I answered. "Good," he said with a grin. "Wouldn't want distractions pulling you off operations." Operations. I didn't respond. Back at my desk, I forwarded the entire thread to my personal email. Then I printed it. The printer hummed, and the paper slid out warm. I stared at that one line again. No IP conflict. Management uninterested? They didn't want it. Which meant they didn't own it. That realization didn't feel explosive. It felt precise. Like a lock clicking open. That night, at my kitchen table, I placed the page into a plain manila folder. I wrote one word on the tab in black ink. Freedom. Not revenge, not validation. Just clarity. The first firm agreed to see me on a Thursday afternoon. 3 partners, 1 long table, no small talk. I opened my laptop and walked them through the logic. It flags licensing conflicts before contract execution. I said, cross-jurisdictional, automated. One of them, gray hair, careful eyes, leaned back. "Who's your current client base?" he asked. "I built it independently." I said, "No clients yet." Another partner folded his hands. "So there's no market validation." "There's need," I replied. "You all deal with regulatory risk. That's not the same as revenue." He said, "I ran the simulation. It detected 4 red flags in under 3 seconds." The gray-haired partner nodded slowly. "It's technically impressive." But I asked, "But it's niche." He said, "Compliance automation isn't a sexy growth category. Hard to scale." I swallowed. "It prevents multi-state penalties." "Those cost millions?" "True," he said, "but prevention doesn't sell like expansion." The meeting ended politely. No hostility. Just distance. "Keep building." One of them added on my way out. "Maybe revisit in a year?" In the elevator down, I stared at my reflection. I looked older than I felt that morning. On the drive home along Lakeshore Drive, and the water was flat and gray, I turned off the radio because my own thoughts were loud enough. Too niche. Strategy requires a different lens. Maybe he was right. Maybe I'm operational. Maintenance? Support? At a red light. I actually picked up my phone to draft an email to the CEO. I understand now. I started typing. You were right about my limitations. I deleted it before it sent. That night, Claire called again. Well, she asked. They passed, I said it's niche. And she pressed, and maybe it is. Or maybe they're wrong. She shot back. Meredith, are you building something because it's trendy? Or because it solves a real problem? It solves one, then build it until they can't ignore it. 2 weeks later, I got another email. A mid-sized compliance analytics firm in Chicago wanted a demo. Their note was short. We've reviewed your summary. Interested in technical depth. That phrasing mattered. In their office, there were only 2 people. A founder named Arjun Mehta and his operations head, Dana. Show us the ugly parts, Arjun said. Not the pitch, the architecture. So I did. I pulled up the raw logic tree, the jurisdiction mapping, the audit logs. Dana leaned forward. How are you validating ownership boundaries? I documented every build. I said, personal equipment, off-network, legal cleared IP. Arjun didn't smile. He studied the screen. How fast can this scan a vendor portfolio of 10,000 contracts, he asked. Under 2 seconds. I said, if the data is structured. He looked at Dana, then back at me. Run it. I did. The second meeting with Arjun wasn't about features. It was about risk. He brought a lawyer, mid-50s. Sharp eyes. No wasted words. Before we talk valuation, she said, we need clarity on ownership. It's mine. I said, your employer may disagree. They won't. I replied. That's confidence, she said evenly. Not proof. So I opened the folder. Commit logs with timestamps, personal cloud invoices, screenshots of the legal email, the line that said, no IP conflict, management uninterested. She studied the pages in silence. You built all of this off company systems, she asked. Yes, no shared libraries. No use of internal data. I used publicly available regulatory data sets. She looked at Arjun. It's clean. The third meeting was about numbers. We see long-term potential, Arjun said, but this isn't consumer software. It's infrastructure. I know, I said. He slid a sheet across the table. We're valuing it at $50 million. Structured acquisition. You retain equity and advisory authority. I didn't react right away. I'd rehearsed calm. Control over architecture decisions, I asked. Yes, independent branding. Yes, and if the market pivots, we pivot with you. There was no dramatic handshake. No champagne. Just signatures. My hand shook slightly when I wrote my name. Not fear, just wait. Afterward. Arjun stood. Why haven't you told your company? He asked. Because they didn't ask. I said, Monday morning. I was back at my desk reviewing compliance reports. Daniel stopped by. You staying late again? He asked casually. Probably, I said. He grinned. Dependable as always. I nodded. The CEO stood near the front of the room, glass raised. This year, he said, we doubled down on vision, on leadership, on bold thinking. Applause, light, predictable. He started listing names. Daniel's came up first, then 2 others from strategy, laughter, clinking glasses. Mine didn't. I didn't expect it to. Mark drifted over to the bar where I was standing. He had that loose. After 2 drinks energy, you still tinkering with that side project, he said. The compliance thing. Yes, I said. He smirked. Come on, Meredith, you know that wouldn't scale. It's cute. Though, cute. I let that word sit between us. Oh, I said, calm. I sold that app, he laughed immediately, loud enough to turn a few heads. Sold it, he repeated. To who? Your sister. I took a sip of champagne. It tasted flat. That useless app had value, he pressed. For how much? $50 million, when I said. The laugh cut off mid-breath. What, he said. $50 million, I repeated. The CEO had gone quiet behind us. I could feel him there before he spoke. You're serious, he asked. Yes. His eyes narrowed slightly. Not disbelief. Calculation. When did this happen? And he asked. Last month. And you didn't think to inform leadership, he said. You weren't interested. I replied. A few people shifted uncomfortably. Someone set their glass down too hard. Daniel stepped closer. Is this some kind of joke? No. Mark swallowed. There's no way. There is, I said. No shouting. No dramatic reveal. Just facts. The CEO straightened his jacket. We'll discuss this Monday, he said quietly. Of course. I answered. For 8 years. I had been the reliable one, the steady one, the operational backbone. Tonight, I watched the room adjust its math in real time. Tell me, is dignity louder than revenge when everyone's listening? His assistant stopped me before I reached my desk. He wants to see you, she said. Not meeting my eyes. Of course he did. I stepped into his office. Door closed. No small talk. You built that application while employed here, he asked. Yes, and you expect me to believe there's no intellectual property conflict I don't expect you to believe. I said. I brought documentation. I placed the folder on his desk. The same one I'd labeled Freedom. He flipped it open. What is this commit logs? Personal cloud invoices? Time-stamped development records? The legal thread your team sent confirming no IP conflict? His jaw tightened. You planned for this. He said, yes, you never presented it formally. I tried. I said, you weren't interested. He leaned back. That's not how I remember it. That's fine. I replied. He scanned the printed email. The line, management uninterested. His fingers paused on the page. You understand how this looks. He said, I understand exactly how it looks. And now you expect us to just accept this, he pressed. I don't expect anything. There was a long silence. Are you planning to stay? He asked finally. I'm considering my options. His expression shifted. Not anger, not arrogance. Something smaller. We could have developed this internally. He said, you could have. I agreed. He closed the folder slowly. You should have brought it to me. He said, softer now. I did. I answered. That landed. I stood up. Before I reached the door, I turned back. You didn't lose an app. I said, you lost a builder. He didn't respond. The call came Wednesday afternoon. Meredith, this is Melissa from legal. She said, voice overly bright. We'd like to discuss potential internal licensing of your software. Internal use only, I asked. Yes, strictly operational. No external commercialization. So you want access? I said, we'd prefer partnership language, she replied. What budget are you considering? There was a pause. Papers shifting. Well, we were hoping you could propose the terms. Of course, market rate for proprietary compliance infrastructure at scale. I said evenly. Would be in the high 7 figures annually. With audit protection and renewal clauses, silence. That's significantly higher than anticipated. She said, it reflects value. I replied, we helped you grow here. She added carefully, you gave me stability. I said, not ownership. Another pause, longer this time. We'll need to review internally, she said. Take your time. After I hung up, my phone buzzed again. Different number. Meredith Kincaid, a man asked. Yes, this is Thomas Hale from Northbridge Analytics. We're creating a chief strategy position. Full autonomy. We'd also license your platform independently. I'm listening. I said, we don't want to own it. He added, we want to work with the person who built it. That landed differently. Send the details, I told him. When I sat back in my chair, the office noise sounded distant. For years, I'd waited to be invited into rooms. Now the rooms were calling me. I cleared my desk on a Friday afternoon. Daniel hovered nearby. So this is really it, he asked. Yes, I said. You could have stayed, he added. With that kind of valuation, you had leverage here, I know. He hesitated. I didn't realize. That's the point. I replied. In the hallway, the CEO stepped out of his office as I carried my box. You're making a mistake, he said quietly. Maybe, I answered. We could have integrated your platform. You could have listened, I said. He held my gaze for a second longer than usual, if you change your mind. He said, the door isn't closed. It was, I replied. For 8 years. Outside. The wind cut straight through my coat. LaSalle Street looked the same as it always had. The Chicago River moved slow and dark beneath the bridges. My phone buzzed. The press release had gone live. Founder and lead architect. No mention of where I used to work. Claire texted me one line. Proud of you. I stood there longer than I meant to. Here's what I've learned. People don't always see you clearly. Sometimes they see the version of you that benefits them most. If you wait for validation, you'll wait forever. Build anyway. Document everything. Protect your work. And don't confuse stability with loyalty. I haven't accepted the new role yet. I haven't signed the licensing agreement either. For the first time in my life, I don't have to decide from fear. If you've ever felt overlooked, don't shrink. Build something undeniable. Then decide who deserves access to it.